and welcome to another episode of All Bad Film. Hello, this episode we're going to be talking the best foreign films of the decade, so 2010 to 2019. And today I'm joined with Blake and Turtle.
What's up?
Hi.
And we're going to get right into it, but first we have two segments to do. So the first segment, we're going to be switching up how we usually do movie news, and we're going to do two lies and a truth, or truth. I was trying to say the plural version, but Blake and Turtle are going to try to discern which lie is the lie and which truth is the truth. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. First one, MoviePass is buying a casino in Las Vegas for their last bit of funds as they've ended their sort of chain theater service.
Shut
Number
up.
one. Number two, the Jeremy Renner app premise has been bought by the writers of 22 and 21 Jump Street. And number three, okay. Michael B. Jordan in talks to star and direct in Creed 3. Which of the lies, which of the truths? Blake, what's your guess?
The lie is the third one.
I want to say the third one, but that means we live in a preposterous universe. So I guess I'm going for the Jeremy Renner one.
No.
Well, sorry guys, there's two lies in this one. The only truth is Michael B. Jordan is in talks to direct Creed 3.
What?
Yeah. I'm not sure how that came about, but the studio is interested in him taking over. MoviePass is going out of business, and the Jeremy Renner app is just funny in itself. And actually, the writers of 21 and 22 Jump Street bought the rights to a Face Off. What's a reboot of Face Off?
Oh, that was them. Jeez.
I have not. Wow. Same cast?
Oh, hopefully. No, I'm hoping it's Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum.
I think they're on purpose funny, which is not the thing with Face Off. John Travolta and Nick Cage are both like ridiculous in their own sense with no irony.
Each other.
Yeah. Excellent. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, looking forward. I'm trying to think of two actors working now that could pull off Face Off. Obviously Shia LaBeouf would be one.
Yeah.
Bill
I mean,
Skarsgård.
he's nearing it. Bill Skarsgård. Wow.
Wow. I think Tom Cruise could do it if he wasn't busy in Mission Impossible, but he won't let that up.
He won't do that to his career.
No.
But we're gonna move on
Alec
to the
Baldwin
next portion. Jesus. Why?
I would love to see Alec Baldwin.
We're going to move on to the next segment where we vote on the fan nominees for our Decade in Review. For those that are listening for the first time or that haven't been told about the tournament, there's a tournament that's going to start at the start of 2020 because there's no films typically that come out in that time. That will be just a 64 films. One comes out the winner. Just 64 films for all that film that we've slowly collected right now. I think we have 10 total. So a ton that we still need. But at the end of the year, we'll have a whole list of films that the fans can vote on. And then the top 10 highest voted films will get into the tourney. So with that said, we're going to vote. And the way it works is as long as we approve the films and have an overwhelmingly majority, then the film gets in and you can vote on it. But we'll move to the first one. Turtle, I'll let you go first. How do you feel about letting Blue Valentine in?
Yes. That has to be a yes.
Ooh. Blake?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm probably going to go with a no, but my vote doesn't matter.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
how come?
It's right outside that range for me. Like when I was, so I actually have written down some of my films that I'm getting for a list I'm working on for the end of the year. And Blue Valentine wouldn't make the cut. I'd rather have a film. Nice segue. I'd rather have a film like Before Midnight because that feels way more fleshed out. So that's a yes for me. Blake, what's your thought process on this one?
I think they're both fleshed out, but yeah, I agree with Before Midnight.
Turtle?
Before Midnight has to go in. It's one of my favorite. It's probably my favorite of the trilogy. So
least favorite of the trilogy, but I think it's
sorry, most favorite.
That's my favorite too.
It is.
No, I was just saying it's my least favorite.
Oh,
I wasn't correcting you.
You don't have taste.
No, I just love Before Sunset because it's the best one inherently.
Nah, it's the worst one. It's the worst one.
Oh,
I like my romance with some cynicism, you know.
Maybe that's why I don't enjoy Blue Valentine as much as y'all. But we'll move on to the third nominee. By the way, Before Midnight came from Turtle, funnily enough, and Blue Valentine came from Andrea. So thanks for those picks. This next one comes to us from Framely, Birdman. And Blake, you're up first. What do you feel on Birdman?
Let's do it. It goes in.
Turtle, what's your pick?
I'm gonna say no.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I literally have not thought of that film since I watched it.
This is tough because I actually just rewatched Birdman. I'd lean towards yes. So I'm gonna lock that in, but it's right on the cusp for me after rewatching it because part of it just seemed a little more indulgent in a second time, and I still love what they're able to do from a filmmaking standpoint, though. So I'll let it in. But fourth one, we got the Florida Project. Turtle, you are up first. What say you?
The best of the decade. Yeah, sure. I think the kids were really good, and Willem Dafoe was really good.
Here's the only thing. So in a world where like 8 out of 10s are sort of my cutoff for this, like Blue Valentine, I think is a high 7 for me. And like where I'm cutting films off typically is around that range. I think the Florida Project's still up there, but the problem that keeps sitting in my head is am I going to let in a film that's so poorly edited in the last minute and like terrible choices to end the film?
I don't. Why is that ending so controversial?
That's exactly what I was
so bad.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
No.
I think this might be one that I change my mind if we re-vote on it or anything like that. But I'm gonna go with no right now because it's not a film I would vote for in the tournament just because of that lackluster finish.
All right, fair enough.
Like you get to decide it.
Okay. I was going to say everything you just said, and I think everything up until then is almost perfect, but it feels like he just didn't have any guts to end the film in a darker place or just a more realistic place. So I'm going to say no as well.
Whoa!
Yeah. All right, fair enough.
Crazy Bomb, the Florida Project, you have not made it. The rest of these films are in. And we'll move on to our last one that segues into our topic for this week. This comes to us. Oh, by the way, Florida Project came from Grayson. Sorry, Grayson.
Thank you, Grayson.
But this pick comes to us from three fans. We got Waffles, Andrea, and Alec. And it's Mommy, Xavier Dolan's project. This is a fat yes for me. I'll talk about it more once we get into the foreign films of the decade. Blake, how do you feel about this one?
I'm gonna have to say no for this. We can talk about it later, but I think the film is much too self-indulgent. It would operate better as a short film, honestly, than a 2.5-hour film to me. So no.
I think I know Turtle's answer, so
I think you know. I think you know.
All right, so we get Mommy, Blue Valentine, Birdman, and Before Midnight all locked in. Florida Project kicked to the side because of that ending from me and Blake. So with that said,
Yes.
let's start getting into the main topic.
Te he prometido que te he de olvidar. Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you.
All right, so we're talking the best foreign film of the decade. This admittedly is going to be a little different than our topics normally go. I think because all of us honestly will admit to you if there's any key omissions that we're doing for the decade in review lists, foreign film is going to be the biggest one. I mean, of my watch list I currently have, I think most of them, I think I have like 70 or so I still have to watch, and like I'd say 50 are foreign. I know it's the same for you guys too, correct?
Yeah.
Strongly agree. I think I look forward to getting like recommendations from you guys in the audience, but
Yeah, that's more
this
of like the goal for this. Is just to talk about films that, oh hey, you need to watch this before the decade ends. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily ones like, for instance, Mommy, like that doesn't necessarily have like a genre tied to it. So when we're doing best of the decade genre types, it's hard to sort of bring that up in a certain regard if it's like just a drama. And there's a lot of great foreign film dramas. But let's get into this. The first one I have on my list, I guess, just to run through things, I have Encendies. You guys have both seen this, correct?
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah,
I have not.
Oh, well, this is the first homework for you, Turtle.
I know. Waffles has been recommending it to me for half a year, and I've gone, yeah, Will.
But yeah, Encendies is just a really fun, as a mystery thriller can be. I think the lead actress is great. Me and Blake talked in our not so good 2010s or 2010 Oscar repicking. And that film came up a lot. I think Denis Villeneuve did something incredible. But Blake, what's a film you would throw out as a talking point?
The first one would be Carlos for me. I found it. I think it should still be on there, but it's a 5-hour film about a Venezuelan revolutionary who like kind of goes across the world, and he's like somewhat of a terrorist, but I don't know. The film kind of represents him as a anti-hero across the entire globe, and I think it's a really awesome movie.
Interesting. Blake, weren't you talking about not saying It Too because it's 3 hours?
No.
Oh, this is an interesting project. I'll definitely add this to my watch list. I've seen this recommended a couple times because I've seen the Edgar Ramirez picture. I forget where I've seen that.
Yes. There's a version of it you can find that's only 2 hours, I think. But if you want the whole thing, it's 5 hours.
Yeah, gotcha. Turtle, you go for it. What film would you like to bring to the table?
I might, even though it is quite recent, I might just go for Pain and Glory since it's so fresh in my mind.
Hasn't come out for us yet. You lucky ducks.
Losers.
Yeah. Hey, Turtle, how's the farewell?
Shut up.
No, but talk about Pain and Glory.
Yeah, I will. Sorry. Oh, like right now?
No, I meant like, what do you mean?
I thought we were just all right. I thought.
Oh, but that's the perfect. You have to say something about the film for me and Blake to know about it.
Sorry, because of the interruption. I thought we were just like shooting the can with like.
No.
All right. So Pain and Glory is a very heartfelt film, and it's a sort of semi-autobiography on Almodovar's life. It's because it's really about an aging director who's trying to process his past, and I just think it's just so good because it's got this melancholy throughout that I really felt, and I could still kind of feel it whenever I watch clips of that film or music. And really I was gonna go for The Skin I Live In, but I'm a bit afraid to nominate that one.
Why are you afraid?
I'm because of the kind of gender politics of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm a bit scared that I'll rewatch it and I'll go, ooh.
Oh no. What's the conversation around it?
I don't know if there's a conversation about it, but it's this will be going into spoilers, right?
Okay, never mind. Yeah. I guess
Yeah.
you're right. We can talk later on this. I have two films that I'll recommend, completely different than, because I was going to bring up The Skin I Live In. I think that's a really good film to check out. It's one of the few, so I don't get like scared too often, but that's one of the films where like I was a little terrified watching The Skin I Live In, because I was like, oh my god, the bad things are happening.
Yeah.
But the film that I would turn to, or the two films I would turn to, but I have one that I like more. Both The Raid and The Raid 2. They're really incredible. They gave us Eco, and he's been in some movies since, some which aren't the best and don't use him that well because how they edit the fights.
Awakens.
Yeah, that's a good. I mean, I love The Force Awakens, but it makes no sense that that's where they use them, because I thought they were going to be used for like actual choreography, but whatever. But The Raid and The Raid 2, brilliant action scenes, really well choreographed. I tend to lean towards The Raid 1 just because The Raid 2 is a lot more polished, and I just like the grittiness of the first Raid. But those are two films. Blake, we're back to you. What you want to talk about?
If I can, I'll bring up The Rover. It's an Australian film, so I think that would count.
Believe it will.
Okay, well, it's pretty much just an update of Mad Max. I think if there's anyone out there who appreciates the original but is kind of, I don't know, they feel like they've been burnt out because Fury Road is so much better, they should really watch The Rover. It's a really cool movie. I think it's the first exposure to Robert Pattinson actually being good in something.
Whoa!
How dare you slander Twilight?
Yeah.
No, that's an interesting way to pitch it. It's been on my watch list for a while. I know it's on Netflix. I just haven't watched it.
Yeah.
All right, Turtle, what's another film that you can bring up?
So I'm going to bring up I'm going to bring up Birds of Passage.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I actually have that funnily enough, I have that rented. I haven't watched it, but
Oh, you do?
yeah.
I do recommend it. If you can get it in the cinemas, it's one of those films I do really recommend in the cinemas, but since it's been out for quite a while, you might have a hard time. I just really like it because you expect this story about it's a story about a guy in Colombia who's trying to get some money. So he gets into the drug trade, which is kind of, I'm sorry, Colombians. But it could easily be that, but it's much more about what money brings into small communities, I guess. I just found that really fascinating about the film. Like it'll bring in like modernity and better housing, but you I suppose gain more enemies and you lose your old way of living. I just found that really fascinating. Yeah.
It comes to us from the same directors that worked on Embrace of the Serpent.
Yes, it does, which I have not watched. So don't ask me.
It was on our watch list.
It was.
Yeah, but no, it's also in the decade. So I just want to shout it out real quick. It's an Amazonian story. It's really interesting. It's on Prime for free. It's in black and white. Really, really beautifully shot.
That director's got something really cool coming out. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's got Johnny Depp and Robert Pattinson.
Ooh, that could be very bad.
Apparently it's good though.
It has a 55 Metascore.
Oh,
I don't know how much. That's with 11 critics, so it could change.
Wait, how recently was this out?
it was.
It just came out in Venice.
Yeah.
Film Festival, September the 6th. So.
Oh, okay, that's quite recent. We'll see.
Yeah, it might be one of those where we don't get it for a while. Moving on, I'll go with what film do I want to go with? I'll go with Kid with the Bike. Have you guys seen this or no?
No.
Nope.
It comes from the Dardenne brothers or Dardenne, and it's this really interesting story about this kid that doesn't really know like where he exists in the world because his dad just ups and sort of leaves him, and this hairdresser sort of takes the role of like a parental figure. Really interesting film. It's not towards the top, but it's one that I keep thinking about. So I think it's at least in the discussion for me, a best foreign film of the decade. And those are two really great directors, awesome duo. But I'll let anybody else take over, like if you have another one.
I feel like I mentioned this 3 times in a row now, but Oslo, August 31st. I think a lot of people need to see that. It's again, if everyone's forgotten, it's about an addict who gets a day out of the rehab to go get a job, and good things and bad things happen to him. It's a really emotional film.
Yeah, for sure. It's again, I still haven't found time to check it out on Netflix, but it's on my queue. I promise. I will watch it. What film are you going with now?
For me, let's go with something we can all talk about. Roma.
Oh, okay. Sweet! Here we go.
I know we have a hater among us.
We do.
So,
he's not on. He can't hurt us.
That's true.
Wait, I thought Blake didn't like Roma.
No, what?
Blake likes Roma.
Oh, never mind.
He jokingly tries to agree with Jude sometimes.
Oh, yeah. I see. Oh, we have a trend follower.
Yeah. No, but Jude is the hater of Roma, and he's not here right now. So, Turtle, gush all you want.
Yeah, I will. You know what? Jude is going to be in this episode. I'm glad he ain't. I'm kidding.
Whoa!
I'm kidding. Jude,
you tell him.
You. All right. All right, losers. Let's go. Roma. It's just this really wonderful story about kind of based on Alfonso Cuarón's housekeeper of his childhood, Cleo. I think her name is slightly different, but it's you might recognize this character from Mama Tambien as well. It seems to be a real person that has had a huge impact on him, and it's just about her life story, and himself as a child is very much in the background, which I really appreciate. I think it could easily be one of those films that are quite egotistical,
Yeah, for sure.
And I just think it's like, what quite a brave thing to do to portray that weird relationship between house staff and rich people, where
for sure
they're within the family, but they're never really considered within the family, and I mean, it's a place of privilege to be able to portray that anyway. But I just think he did it with such respect.
Nice. Yeah, I love Roma, and I definitely agree. This could have easily sort of fall into the wayside if it wasn't handled with as much care that Alfonso Cuarón put into it. I think he's a really talented guy, and he puts a lot of emotion into his projects that I think is shown here. I know a couple of people have said, and this is one of Jude's criticisms, so I'll let him sort of speak a little bit in a way. But I know he says the film is like nothing happens. I tend to disagree with that because it's almost like, I don't know, it's just like filling in the voids of like, you as a child think this person does one thing and that's their whole life and that's all you know about them. And meanwhile, all these things were happening that he didn't even know about. So I think he does that. He puts that on display in a really interesting way that I don't think is just, oh, hey, it looks pretty, but nothing happens in the film. Like, do you want to add anything?
No, I think you guys covered it all.
Sick. I'm trying to find one that we can all talk about as well. I'm hoping that you guys have seen Okhta.
Yeah.
Okay, so this might not be like towards the top for me, but I really love this film just in what it's able to execute. I think Bong Joon-ho does a really good job of something a lot of filmmakers have struggled with that have tried to do this in making a sort of almost like a Studio Ghibli like live action film. But I think it really works here. He just makes this movie that literally anyone can consume. It's lots of fun. I just really enjoy this project. And Steve Yeun.
Yeah, and a great cast, honestly.
My favorite part is actually the Stephen Yeun part with Paul Dano and like the agency for animals.
That whole group is lots of fun.
Yeah.
I completely forgot Paul Dano was on there.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he shows up for a little bit, but not too much.
I'm not really a fan of Jake Gyllenhaal in that film, but I mean some people might be.
I think it's one of his most fun roles, honestly.
I agree. I don't think it's his best performance or anything.
No.
But he's just going crazy. And I love it. Yum yum.
I love it when you chew up scenery.
Yeah. But other than that, this one might not count. So I guess we should talk about this now because all of us have seen it. And it's already in the tourney. What We Do in the Shadows and Hunt for the Wilder People, Taika's films. New Zealand, so still foreign. I know a lot of people consider foreign, quote-unquote, films to be a foreign language. These are obviously in English, but they're still from the different like Hollywood studio. I think these films are really funny and ones people should definitely check out. So I was just bringing that up.
What about Boy?
Oh, yes, Boy as well. Sorry, I keep forgetting Boy's a 2010 film instead of 2009. But yeah, no, I'd highly recommend Boy.
Yeah, get with the program. I just out of interest, which one of those do you like the most?
It's Boy for me. Just because the only reason is... Oh, sorry, what's up, Blake?
I would say Wilder People, but...
Oh, see, I'd say What We Do in the Shadows, so...
What We Do in the Shadows is probably the least for me.
Really?
Yeah,
the only thing is like I think Taika is inherently a funny person. And all his films are funny. But what I get tied to is the way he like is able to put in dramatic moments in the comedy, which I think is in parts of Hunt for Wilder People with this weird relationship, this old man and like this boy who doesn't fit in. But I think that's the best shown in Boy, where it's like, oh my God, like this kid hasn't had his father, like he doesn't really get everything yet. He just wants to impress this girl. He's weird, but he finds ways to like make that emotional and comedic at the same time. And that's why I'm really excited for Jojo Rabbit.
No. Speaking of Jojo Rabbit, it actually just won the People's Choice Award at TIFF like 15 minutes ago.
Oh,
really?
Wow.
Which 12 Years a Slave and Green Book and Slumdog Millionaire all won that. And The King's Speech.
What?
So
What
Book.
good
Wait, Green
company?
Book.
That's
What good
it says.
company?
So Jojo Rabbit Best Picture.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Let's go. Let's do
This
it.
is weird because I thought the early word of mouth wasn't the best.
No, I'm looking. Rotten Tomatoes is 75 and Metacritic is 50.
That's weird that it won.
Oh. I'm surprised it's Metacritic's a 50.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's at 52 now, I guess. But still.
People really don't like them Nazi films, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I still have to wait to see the film to like know. But if there's anyone, again, I think we've said this when we were talking about JoJo. Like, if there's anyone that can make this film work and not and understand like the like point of view you have to tell to make this safe, Taika Waititi is like one of the best choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's earned like enough faith. Ooh. So Jojo Rabbit, Best Picture.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
that's fingers crossed. That would be awesome if it was in the discussion.
But I mean, we were just talking about it before we went on there. But his next film is going to start Michael Fassbender. It's a soccer film.
Yeah, I was really surprised that he's going to like a soccer film. Maybe it's just one he's always wanted to do.
Guys,
I like Michael
football.
Fassbender.
Yeah.
Oh yes, football. But I'll move on to another film. So I think this is one we've all seen, and I think it's one that Blake doesn't like, if I recall. I have Burning on my list.
Oh, I didn't even finish that. I couldn't.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Oh.
Yeah.
You are not in good company because I haven't watched Burning either.
Ooh, okay. So I guess I'll be the one to talk about Burning. I don't know how to feel about this film. I've said this. I don't think I said it on the podcast, but I've said this in my review for it. It's one of the few films in a while. At the start of this year, I did this weird thing where I was like, "Ooh, I won't rate films, so that way, I can sort of think about it more and then rate them later." I ended up changing this. So I haven't not rated a film I have finished for a while. Burning is one of the few that I don't know what to rate it. It could be a 9, could be a 5 out of 10 for me. It's really, really well directed. I know Blake considers it boring. I can see that, and that's why I struggle with it. But Steve Yeun he is something else in this film. Really spectacular performance. Blake, if you want to talk about it, you can, or else we'll move on to something else.
I would just say everything that Jude said about Roma, I would apply to Burning. I really can't even describe what the plot is. Like, he's trying to get a book published. He's masturbating on his bed for 15 minutes.
What?
This guy's
Not 15 minutes.
It feels like a long take. I don't know.
I can see that criticism.
I look forward to seeing it then, I guess.
But I got another film that I think we've all seen. I say this, and I could be completely wrong because I thought we had all finished Burning, and we were 0 for 2 in that regard. But have either of you seen Train to Busan?
Yes.
No.
Dang it, Blake.
Yes.
Turtle, go for it.
I'm not very kind to Train to Busan, honestly.
Oh,
so if you want to
okay,
gush about it, if you want to gush about it, please.
Yeah, it's a film I just really like. It's a return to the stereotypical zombie genre used in a fun way. I think the characters are for sure cliches. That doesn't matter to me. I still like those cliches. And I think it's in a sort of almost hyper version of those things that I tend to enjoy with Train to Busan. Just a really fun movie. Turtle, you can talk about why you didn't necessarily love it.
I feel bad because people seem to love Train to Busan so much, and I really, it's one of those things where I really do not even see what people like about it so much.
How dare you?
I know, it's so there's so many elements of it that are very much cliche American horror, but it's just transferred onto a a different setting. And
That's what I love about it. It's almost like because I'm so like tired of seeing that over and over. And I haven't actually seen a zombie film for a while. Like a mainstream one come out in the US, but like even The Walking Dead,
No.
like it's almost like this film gets like where that film struggles and like paints a new like it's all about perspective, and it's someone being able like from a different part of the world being able to handle that genre is what I really dig about it. But
yeah, like I see it, but it's generally one of those things where I I found that I was being quite mean spirited to it, I guess.
yeah,
In a way where it's like, oh, that doesn't make sense. That's not the point of horror, really. But it like I genuinely found myself turning against this film as I was watching it. There were some fun moments.
yeah.
What's his name? What's the main actor's name?
I'd have to look that up for you, but you can keep talking
Mm,
about it, and I'll get you that info.
It's Gong something. He is actually
Oh,
like a
Yugong.
yeah, there you go. He is actually like a massive, or at least in this time, a massive K-drama actor. I remember around this time he was in this film. No, he was in this K-drama called Goblin. And I remember that used to be everywhere. It was just like
Interesting. I didn't know this.
even though there were some dodge things about that drama, I really loved him in it, and it was really interesting for me to absolutely turn on him.
How dare you?
Yeah, so A Train to Busan, I'm sorry. I don't get it.
That's fair. Another film I have that I know y'all haven't seen, so I'm gonna run through some y'all haven't seen if that's okay. So The Blade of the Immortal, I believe it's from I forget this director's name. I can look it up real quick, but this film is the first time I've sort of seen the sensibilities of anime work in live action. And I think Takashi Miike does a really, really interesting job of just knowing like what campy sword fighting should be, sort of how they do. I read Bleach when I was a kid. Like I read the manga for Bleach, and I really, really love that. Love that initial run just because it's so edgy, it's so fun, it's like ripe for teens. And I think this is like an adult version of Bleach. It's never stops being just this incredibly like, again, I repeat it, but campy, fun action sword fighting film with stupid dialogue that I'd eat up. But yeah, another one that I had that I can't remember if you guys have seen, The Guilty.
No.
Yeah, so I watched this last night because we thought we were going to have Jude on. And Jude loves this film. It was really, really great. Has a lot of similarities to Tom Hardy's Locke. And I think eventually people will know this film once it gets an American adaptation that I hope isn't dangerously similar or the exact same, because I think it's probably going to end up being hokey, unfortunately. But yeah, this is an incredible film. If you've seen Locke, I think this does Locke even better. Because the problem for me with Locke, for those that don't know, sorry, this film is about basically there's a dispatch agent that's taking calls for emergencies, and he answers a call for a kidnapped woman. And just in this room, and with only what he can do on the phone, he has to sort of figure out how to save this woman. It's a really, really high suspense film. The main actor, Jacob Sindegren, is fantastic because he's basically the only one really acting on screen. And it's definitely worth checking out. And I look forward to what that director and the main actor are able to do afterwards. But do you guys have a film you want to bring up?
I have a couple actually. Have you seen The
Start
Great
running
Beauty
through.
yet? Have you seen
No,
The
I
Great
have
Beauty
not.
yet?
I have not.
Well, it sounds somewhat similar to Pain and Glory, but not about a director. So This old rich man has his 65th birthday, and he's getting tired of partying, so he reflects on his life. It's a very pretentious film, but you can't help but love some of it. I mean, it's just beautiful all the way around, even if it is overlong and I don't know, just very pretentious. And then Revenge, that was on our watch list. Did either of you guys see that?
Have not. I own both these two that you're
No.
saying. And they're on both Great Beauty and Revenge are on my watch list for the end of the decade. So I will get to them.
Okay. Well, it's one of Jude's favorite films. I think he might have nominated it for the tournament.
Did yeah. We just
But,
haven't had enough people that have seen it to vote on it.
Right. Well, it's about a girl who gets raped by her boyfriend. Yeah, it's her boyfriend, I think. Yeah, and then she hunts him down and his friends pretty much the entire film. It's got a lot of bright colors. It's kind of Lynchian too. It's just I think it's kind of a necessary film in the climate that we're in nowadays.
Nice. Great recommend. Do you have any more?
Nice.
No.
Okay. Turtle, do you have any that we might have not seen that you want to bring up? Because I have a notable. Yeah.
I don't know. Have you guys seen A Fantastic Woman?
Have not, again, on the watch list.
I think Fantastic Woman is not one of my favorite films by any measure, but I just think it's just such a good film and it should be watched. It's about a trans woman who was having a relationship with an older man, and he dies, and the family are being quite hostile to her as when they find out what happened, basically. And I just think it's one of those human stories. I just think it's really worth seeing, and I fantastically acted. And I forgot what the director's called. Is it like Sebastian something Leo?
Yeah, Sebastian Lelio.
Yeah, he did Disobedience. He did. My mind's going blank, but he did other good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very active man. Good for him. I just think, it's a wonderful story, and so done in a perspective that there aren't that many films out there from a trans woman's perspective, and it's just such an interesting situation to put the main character into, I guess.
Sure.
And have you guys seen?
Here we go.
Wait, no. I think you might know. I'll just rattle off Tomboy. I've mentioned this before in my 20 one of the lists. Whatever year Tomboy was
I believe
in.
it was 2011 when you voted for it for the what's it called? The repicking of Oscars. Yeah, you nominated the performance.
This is kind of weird, but it's not that weird. But I seem to have doubled up on my trans characters, I guess. The boy is the Tomboy.
It's double feature.
Yeah, it's a double feature. Tomboy is about a kid. It's a French film. It's about a kid who maybe like trans, but certainly at the very least a tomboy. And it's just the kind of difficulties they face, and how odd adults are around gender, I guess. I just think it's a really fascinating film and totally worth seeing. And The Square? Has anyone seen The Square?
Yeah.
I haven't seen The Square you're going to talk about.
Wait, Blake, have you seen The Square?
I have.
All right, sweet. I just think The Square is. Wait, do you want to describe The Square rather than me rattle off?
No, I'll just be like incendiary. So you can do it.
Okay, sweet. The square is just about an art gallery, and they have this exhibition called the Square in front of them, and it's just a bit of paint in a square, and it's more about the goings on in art gallery. And I just think this film is so delicious because it hates the art world so much, and as to what it stands for, I think it just really, really hates bougie art people, and for that I salute them. It's funny. Like,
It obviously hates the art gallery, but I think it's too in love with itself to enjoy. So, I don't know.
Ooh.
yeah, okay, you know what? I agree with that. I do.
Because it goes so hard for dark comedy, and it's just all like it's either disgusting or it just goes right over your head. Or
Mm. Like, I do agree. I really enjoy that film. It's very smug. But
I think what's kept me away from it for now has been the runtime.
exactly, yeah.
I haven't exactly just been like, oh buddy boy, time to check out this movie. Just because of that, but it's not for the fault of the film. But a couple that I wanted to bring up before I go to a whole category, like a literal whole category. My Life as a Zucchini. This is a film we've mentioned before. Evans recommended it when we did our animation episode. I believe it's a French studio. It's really fun. It's only 65 minutes. So for those that love short movies, this is exactly up your alley. It's about a group of orphans, and it sort of does that Taika Waititi style of finding comedy and emotion, and also finding emotion and comedy in really interesting ways, because it shows perspective of kids with adults, and it's almost that sometimes like the adults are learning from the kids are learning from adults. It's a really beautiful movie. But another one that I think may not be considered foreign, it's a Polish studio, so I consider it foreign, but Loving Vincent. This is the animated film that is just a bunch of Vincent van Gogh portraits, and it is lovely, lovely, lovely. I know a lot of people get bored by it for whatever reason. I don't. I think it's masterfully handled in the regard of storytelling. But if you are interested in learning more about Van Gogh, this is sort of like a dramatized version of that. But I think it's a great companion piece to At Eternity's Gate.
And it took 5 years to make,
Yes.
which there's something to be said about not kind of loving films for what effort was put in, but it's 5 years of oil painting,
Yeah. You
Can't let
can
that
tell in every scene like that amount of time and care went into it. But another film that I was going to bring up before we get into the heavy hitters. Do you mind if I do this, guys? If I talk about my
He's going animated.
Yep.
Go right ahead.
So I got Wolf Children. It's a film by Hasada. I have 3 films by Hasada: Wolf Children, Boy and the Beast, and Mirai. Wolf Children is about a family and a mom having to deal with her husband sort of not being in the picture, and she has to raise 2 children that are also wolves, which is an incredibly interesting premise. It's really lighthearted and fun. Boy and the Beast is one of my favorite movies of all time. That doesn't mean, just to be clear for the listener, that doesn't mean it's going to be your favorite movie of all time. In fact, a lot of people have watched this and have been either bored or just like, oh yeah, it's pretty good, but I don't get how it's your favorite. And it's like, well, it's my favorite, sir, not yours. But it's a film that I love just because I love action adventure movies, and I think this really nails the vibe that I want to get into when I'm consuming a film. Additionally, I have Mirai, as mentioned. This is probably, I don't want to say this because I know it might have the lower rating, but I think it's Hasada's most accessible one. It's sort of like I don't want to give too much away, but it's just about a family, and it's about a kid that there's some way he can go and visit other family members in their previous parts of their lives. So that's Hasada. Shinkai, I have Your Name, Garden of Words as well. I know a lot of people like that. Your Name is spectacular. I know a lot of people love it. Big, massive success in terms of what anime films normally do here. So I think a lot of people have heard of that, so I don't need to speak too much on that. Additionally, I have A Silent Voice, which is currently on Netflix, if you want to check out. I don't even want to describe it. It's on Netflix. Watch it. It's really, really fun. It's a drama. These two hosts probably haven't seen it because they're scrubs.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Other than that, the last one I have in terms of anime, before I get to an entire studio, is Night is Short, Walk Home Girl. Unfortunately, this isn't really on any streaming services at the moment. It is a great film. It's a girl just going through an entire city's night, and she's just meeting all these interesting people, learning about their stories, and she's very extroverted, so it leads to a lot of hijinks and adventures. That's animated as well. And then I have the Studio Ghibli films. The only two I wanted to mention, The Wind Rises and The Red Turtle. The Wind Rises, I think, is a serious contender for one of the best films of the decade. I think it's Miyazaki's most important film. I don't like to throw that at someone, but if there was one that could be said to be his like magnum opus, I'd probably say The Wind Rises, even though it's not my favorite of his. Have you seen that, either of y'all?
No, I need to.
Come on, Scrubs.
Hey.
Like, I know you haven't seen it. But I also had The Red Turtle. Jude was going to mention that with me. It's Studio Ghibli, but it's from a French studio, about a guy being lost on an island. Incredible visually. Definitely worth checking out. I just went on a rant for about probably 10 minutes about anime, so sorry about that, guys.
No, you are more than good.
Where do we want to go from here?
Wait, can I add a
Go for
couple
it.
into the list?
Go for it, yeah.
Because as you were talking, I just remembered more, especially because you were talking about animation. I'm gonna throw out The Breadwinner.
Of course.
I just think if you want a good cry, go watch The Breadwinner. And also, A Girl Walks Home at Night.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's
still on my watch list. I
Iranian.
really needed to check out because isn't it 2013?
It's 2014. I'm sure it was 2013.
Okay. I think I was trying to watch it before our repicking of the Oscars for one of the years.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah. I could have thought about this one. But I just love a good vampire flick, and this one's much more interesting because it's set in Iran, and it's just got this real different eye to the whole vampire thing. Yeah.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
I found another one, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Borg versus McEnroe.
Oh, I didn't realize that was foreign.
It's mostly in Swedish, other than when Shia LaBeouf's on screen, which isn't actually that often. So it just takes the Borg versus McEnroe historical match and turns it into something really thrilling for about 90 minutes. It's a simple film and a short film, but I think it's pretty explosive. And if you like Peanut Butter Falcon and want to see more Shia LaBeouf, or you like Stellan Skarsgård and want to see more of him from Chernobyl, you should watch Borg versus McEnroe.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Is that on HBO or something yet, or?
I'm not sure.
My library was weird. They had it for like a week and then they took it away, and I was like, did someone steal this? Another film that's animated, I was going to mention these two because depending on your sort of thought process on foreign. These might not count. Shaun the Sheep is very foreign to me because it's British. um, and I love that movie. It's lots of fun. And additionally, Song of the Sea, I believe it comes to us from an Irish studio. I believe it's Cartoon Saloon. But it's just this really fun film that I think a lot of people would enjoy that just people don't really know about. It's reminiscent of early Disney films. And I love 2D animation because I know me and Evan have talked about this in our animated episode, but I know a lot of people that don't necessarily love that all Pixar and Disney films and Minions films or whatever, like all of them have that 3D style now, and it's like, hey, you can still do 2D. But
and also want to mention The Breadwinner, also from Studio Saloon.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I think, yeah. I just remember that, yeah.
This might not be from Cartoon Saloon.
It is.
No, sorry. Song of the Sea might not be.
No, it is. I remember.
Let me check real quick.
They also have The Secret of Kells.
Do have The Secret of Kells. I'm trying to think. Irish animated studio. Let's see what Ireland is producing. Potato.
Whoa.
I'm sorry.
No,
the breadwinner is on here. Song of the Sea. Yep, nope. Turtle's right. I am wrong. I admit it. They also came out with Skunk Fu, the series. I remember this briefly when I was a kid. Yeah.
Wow.
It was a skunk that knew karate.
A studio of many faces.
Yeah. They really just bring to light a lot of different voices. But I have two other films that I think are heavy contenders for best foreign film of the decade that I'll bring up real quick. Turtle has seen this film. I don't believe Blake has. That would be A Separation. This is a movie. And it's and it's probably one of the best scripts I've seen in a long while. I think it understands the importance of subtlety in conversations and having those conversations matter later. Sort of like interweaving different ideas that are going to be explored later, but not making it to where it's like bashing you over the head, like, oh, hey, this is why this is going to matter later. Or remember that conversation we had? It does so in like a very organic way. It has a lot to say. Asghar Farhadi is a brilliant director. And I'm really looking forward to his couple of other films he's come out with this decade. I have The Salesman with me. I've rented it multiple times and just haven't gotten around to watching it. I will get to it. But that is another film I've heard great high praise from. It's just a film that I think a lot of people, if there's anyone, I don't know how to, I guess I know how to say this. If there's any film that a discussion could be started on who is morally correct, I think A Separation is one of the best ones. Just because there's a lot of complexity to each and every one of these characters that I think they obviously spent a great deal of time sort of coming up with. But yeah, Turtle, feel free to add on.
No, I think you said it, honestly. It's a really good script. The acting's just so good, honestly. Especially the main actress. Would be great if I had her name, but she is fantastic.
Layla Hatami.
Yeah, her. I mean, they're all great. Even the kids are really good. But I think especially her, she's so well acted. And yeah, separation. Very much about separation as well.
For sure. All right, Blake, do you have one where me and Turtle might be talking about a front runner?
You mean like what I would pick as the?
No, I mean any other films you want to bring up. I have one more that I'm going to bring up, and then we're both.
Well, no, nobody has mentioned either of the raids.
I mentioned them at the start.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember
It's
that
been a
at
long
all.
while though.
I don't remember
Not
that at
listening?
all.
We've covered a lot
When
of
was
films.
this? Okay, then
I
no, I've probably
like at the
mentioned
very
everything.
start, oddly enough.
Okay, then I've probably mentioned everything that's worthy.
All right, well that means me and Turtle get to talk about a film by Xavier Dolan that we've already voted on.
Whoa.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
No.
Yep, it's time to talk about Mommy.
Well,
Turtle,
I
if you
still
want to
have
go
to-
first,
I've
you
seen
get
it.
to
I can
talk
still
about
talk
it.
about it.
You get to talk about it. I'm not saying you
Yeah.
don't.
You get your turn. Don't worry.
Yeah, we were just letting Turtle and myself go first. All right, Turtle, tell us about
Yeah.
Mummy.
I will tell you about Mommy. I so the plot is really that this woman has a kid with ADHD and a lot of violent tendencies. He's quite difficult to deal with, and she's trying. They clearly love each other, but she's very overwhelmed. And then they basically consensually kidnap a woman from a neighboring house and bring her on as a secondary mother. And they create this great family unit. Mommy is like transgressive in all the ways that are so surprising, right? Because I think I just find it so wonderful. Whenever people talk about, whenever I slag off Tarantino, I think it's because he's transgressive in such not surprising ways that I just get bored, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah, Mommy is one of those, right? And it just the story gets taken to such interesting places, and it plays a lot with uncertainty, I guess. Hey.
I'm going to let Blake talk first, just so we have an inner splice of gushing and hating
All
and
right.
gushing.
So there are a lot of good things in it, but there are so many things in the film that make me question why they were even there. Like it could be an entire hour shorter than it is, I think. Like it goes on forever and ever and ever, and it ends up in the same spot that it started. So I don't know, just most of it feels kind of pointless. But even starting from the opening scene, like the mommy gets in a car crash and it's not even referenced ever again. She gets in a car crash on the way to go see him. Okay.
It's a metaphor for her life.
Her life, it's a continuous car crash. Come on,
But
Blake.
it wasn't even mentioned. Like, but no, that's kind of petty though. What I just said is kind of petty, but all that. But like it just kind of
Blake the
goes
Petty King.
back.
No, we're all
Goes back
entitled
on
to
what
our
it
feelings.
does to itself.
Yeah.
Like you know how it starts like 4:3 or the smaller ratio, right?
Aspect ratio,
course.
yeah.
And it widens later on, but then it goes back. So it's like it ruined the moment for me, at least. I didn't like how it
Okay.
reversed.
I'm not saying this to like to interrupt your point, but like to me right now, like what that moment specifically says to me is it's like in this specific instance, in this one moment, that's where everything was perfect. And it's not one of those things where it's going to stay that way. It was just right then, right there. His whole world was open to him. And I sort of disagree with your sentiments just because I think that this is sort of spoilers for Mommy, but I think that is one of the most beautiful scenes in all of the decade.
No, it was, and then it undid itself later. So I was like, what was
I think
the point of
in
that?
undoing itself, it makes that moment even more powerful when you think about it. Because it's like, oh, well, it doesn't, life doesn't stay that way. It's not like you're always going to be at a 10.
Well, I think that if they would have put that moment at the beginning of the third act or closer to the ending, because it was like probably 75 minutes in, and that's only halfway. So if it would have undone itself at the end, I think maybe that would have been better. No, I
get what you mean.
The movie.
Yeah. I get what you. Oh yeah, Blake for sure doesn't hate the movie by any stretch.
No. I kind of do agree because I think I remember that moment being much later than it actually was, to be honest.
So there's a good hour and like
Yeah.
10 minutes afterwards.
I thought it was towards the kind of flash forward. But I guess not.
No, it is not. And no, but the flash forward is also in the full frame aspect ratio, correct?
See? Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
That's why to me, when you say that, like I think it needs to be in that middle part, because then it's almost like, again, just in case you didn't skip ahead 30 seconds if you haven't seen Mommy. That film works really well because it shows everyone like, oh hey, this is what life could have been like if I wasn't such a burden, if I wasn't so, difficult to my mother. Like she could have had all these great moments, and it's him reflecting on that I think that film needs, and you don't get that like sort of tremendousness of it if you have that towards the middle instead.
Yeah, and she for him, because that flash forward is from her perspective, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah, but I do kind of agree in that it's obviously got its own purpose, and it works, but it does feel a bit gimmicky, I guess. Like, Bait, that I watched recently, it's actually filmed in an older camera, and it looks like very much a black and white silent film. But the kind of story itself is so ingrained in the past that it totally makes sense for me. I guess the aspect ratio, not as much.
Gotcha. So there were a couple films that I wanted to bring up that I think Turtle has seen that I'm surprised. Do you have others you want to bring up before I go through this list of ones that I've sort of omitted that I haven't seen, admittedly? Like, Turtle, you've seen Shoplifters, correct?
Oh my god, yeah. Forgot to mention that one.
Okay, gotcha. I think you've seen Shoplifters. I think you've seen Handmaiden. I think you've seen
a
couple of these.
Handmaiden's foreign too. Oh, okay. Sorry.
You're good. I was surprised that no one brought it up. Also, you guys have seen The Hunt, like.
Yeah.
No, that's not. Nah. I think we covered that because it was the same three people on the whatever year The Hunt was in.
The Oscars,
covered all of
it. Yeah, I
was gonna mention like Cold War, Son of Saul. I haven't seen.
All those are great.
Yeah, have you seen all of these?
Yeah,
and you didn't talk about them.
My brain before this episode, I was really scratching my brain. Oh dear. But yeah, all of those, big recommend. A huge recommend. Honestly, I can't believe I forgot some of these.
Yeah, if you want to talk about Shoplifters, Handmaiden, or any of the others, feel free.
Handmaiden, I think most people that are probably listening to this podcast are well into anyway. I'll talk about Shoplifters. It's Koreeda film. He does a really fantastic job making films about, I suppose, difficult families. And Shoplifters, I think, one of the most difficult families that he's done, because they aren't even a family. They're just all kind of, I suppose, lost people, and they create this pseudo family to gain all the sort of social capital and everything of a real family. And they create these bonds, but because they aren't biologically connected, and they're also all criminals, just putting that out there, they're all criminals. It's this very tenuous relationship, this that I think Koreeda uses that situation to its full potential. So
nice.
Really recommend. One of my favorites from that year.
A couple that I wanted to mention as well, that Jude, because he made a list because he was going to be on for us. He mentioned Raw, which I still need to check out. I'm actually probably going to watch it later today. Wild
Yeah, me
Tales, Climax, a film I haven't finished.
Oh,
Funnily
Climax.
enough.
Interesting.
Yeah. The Wild Boys. He likes Train to Busan, thankfully. Thanks, Jude.
Hey,
You're the best.
hey.
But all right, let's get into this. What film are we going to vote for our best of the decade? Blake, I'll let you go first.
Is there even a point of me voting if you guys are both going to say mommy?
I think we're both
We're
going to
doing-
say what you think we're going to say?
You really think?
I think
would
you
say-
haven't been listening.
Okay then. Well, if that's not the case, then I'll say Oslo August 3rd.
Oslo?
Mhm.
Yes.
Really? Oslo 31st. Let's go. All right, Turtle, what is your pick?
Despite, yeah, it's gotta be mommy. I'm sorry.
Mommy is the pick. And unfortunately, we're going to be in a three-way tie because my pick is
Oh.
The Boy and the Beast. As I said, Blake, it's one of my favorite films of all time.
Yeah.
So it would be ill remiss for me not to pick it. With that said, we're going into second round. So let me think. I'd probably go anime
No.
again, and I'd go The Wind Rises. Turtle, you're up. What's your second pick?
Hoo-wee. It's it's gonna be a separation for me.
Interesting.
I don't know if we'll get a consensus on this, honestly.
We will eventually.
We'll force
10
it.
rounds later, yeah. Blake, what's your pick for your second film?
Roma.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh yeah.
All right, Blake, what's your third pick?
The Great Beauty.
Interesting. Turtle, what's your third selection?
Shoplifters. Yeah.
It says with the
Shoplifters.
question mark. I'll put the question mark on there.
Thank you.
Oh geez. I don't know if I have Mommy or Roma higher. Because I gave them both the same score. Oh, man. Let me see if I gave any other 5 out of 5s for the year or for the decade, I guess I should say, before deciding between those two. Because man, there's some good films to pick from. I haven't even seen them all. I still need to see Shoplifters because I'm a scrub.
How dare you?
I know. I'm the worst guy.
We're Still Walking was in this decade.
I know. I looked
Is
it
not.
up. I was so disappointed.
I think I guess yeah, I think Still Walking is I like that more than Shoplifters.
I need
Yeah.
to watch Still Walking because you guys loved it and only 3 people saw it in our group.
Oh.
All right, I'm definitively going with I'm going with Roma. Just because I think this film,
Woo!
yeah, I think this film means something, and I think someone needs to back Corone to put him into this tournament, and I'm worried. And I want to see this film be discussed and talked about in great lengths, even for the people that don't like it. Sort of hearing their justification, and maybe we can sway some people because I think it's one that unfortunately, didn't win Best Picture. It could have been a discussion point for things.
Lost the Green Book.
Yeah,
LOL.
Green Book.
I think the better film of the two.
Yeah.
I wish
But yeah,
someone said that.
Roma is the winner, surprisingly, to Blake's cynicism. So, congrats, Roma, you've done it.
Oh shit! I'm genuinely surprised no one picked like Parasite.
Hey,
Well,
well, that
none of
film's
us have
not
seen
out
it.
yet. That
Yeah,
film's
that
not out
film's
yet.
not out for us.
Oh no! I forgot. I was with the
We don't pirate films
For
here.
real.
Thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what? That's fine. That's fine.
No, but another thing
Oh.
that I sort of wanted to mention to y'all is
Hmm?
for these decade things, I didn't really have to because it didn't matter for this sort of poll because the ones that will be talked about sort of get mentioned later. I'm trying to stay away from doing 2019 because we're going to have like 5 picks for 2019 that get in.
Yeah.
So those are like automatic. Like if everybody loves Parasite, then Parasite will get in. If everybody loves the Beach Bum will get in.
Woo!
Yeah, other great films like that, like The Farewell. But that is our episode for the week. Thank you guys for listening. We're going to hit recommends for the week. Just any sort of art you've been consuming. Let us know. Turtle, what's your pick for the week?
My pick for the week is the 2019 film Bait. I believe it's still out in cinemas, and from what I heard, they've doubled up on the amount of cinemas that are screening it because it has been a hit. It's this wonderful story about a Cornish. Sorry, I was going to call it Cornwallish. A Cornish fishing village who are faced with new neighbors who are from London and quite a bit more rich than them.
Oh, those Londoners.
Those scummy. I'm sorry, Londoners. Yeah, it's very much a story about gentrification, and it's very, very that region of Britain that I think a lot of people outside Britain will have had no contact with. So I think if you can find a screening of it, I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. Heads up for non-UK listeners. This might not be playing in your area. It's not playing in mine. That's why I was.
I will get vindication, and this will release worldwide.
Hopefully. Blake, what's your recommend for the week?
It's been a while since I saw it, but I haven't seen many good things since. I'll go with The Peanut Butter Falcon. Hey, did you bring this up in another episode, or?
Yeah, I had it at the end of one of our recommends one week. But yeah, talk about it, man.
Well,
talk about Shia.
No, he was he probably gave the best performance that I've seen so far this year on the male side, at least. I'd been looking forward to it all year, or since I found out about it, and it really lived up to what I was expecting. So,
Sure, great recommend. Really, and I agree with you. For whatever reason, maybe it's just the circle I'm following or whatever, but it's been sort of mixed, and I think it's like a 3.8 on Letterboxd, which is fairly high. But I've seen just a lot of reviews that are like, "Oh, yeah, it's like they're like, oh, it's fun," and it's like a 5 out of 10, and I'm like, that doesn't mean.
No. It's like genuinely the first super great film besides The Beach Bum that I've seen this year. Like I think I was just being generous to all the other ones that were above average.
I completely agree. After I saw The Farewell and Peanut, because The Farewell to me, that was like
too.
That was a mulligan. I was like, okay, Lulu Wang and Awkwafina like spoke this film into existence against the onslaught of the terrible films of 2019, and I was like, oh, we got lucky. Then the Peanut Butter Falcon came out, and I was like, okay, wait, there's two, like,
yeah,
because it had been a while. Like I saw Beach Bum like in March or something like that, and it had been a decent amount since I was like,
early.
Oh man,
2019 peaked immediately.
Yeah, I was real worried. We were talking about this for a while because Blake was super pumped for The Beach Bum, and that was like my favorite film for the longest time.
I'm surprised I loved it as much as I loved it, honestly.
So I can't get my friends keep bringing it up on the podcast. They're like, "Can you believe he hated Midsummer but loved The Beach Bum?" And I'm like, guys, you haven't seen The Beach Bum. It's really quite enjoyable.
Yeah,
it's better than Midsummer. though. I like Midsummer, but
Beach
Whoa,
Bum gang. No, but so I'm actually going to do a weird recommend for the week. I could recommend some of the anime I'm reviewing. So if you guys want to watch like One Punch Man season 2, I'm about to get started on Demon Slayer. But I'm actually going to recommend a film that I'm about to get into because I'm 15 minutes in deep. We started recording this. I didn't have enough time to watch it for this episode. I'm going to watch The Handmaiden. by Chan
Nice.
Park Woke, and it's awesome from what I've heard. So really excited. Turtle didn't talk about much because, like she said, like of those who have seen it, love it. I'm just really excited for this film, so I'm just gonna recommend in general, even though The Handmaiden is specifically what I'm recommending. Park Chan Wook, just check out all his films. He's a really interesting director.
Are you excited for his next film?
I am. Yeah, no, I'm very excited for what he plans on doing.
His film written by S. Craig Zoller.
Yeah, I know, Blake.
It's gonna be
Sorry,
awesome.
who?
So
It's gonna be
Craig
so amazing.
Zahler is the guy that did Cell Block 99 and Bone Tomahawk and the Dragged Across Concrete or whatever. He just directs things in a very visceral way that I don't necessarily enjoy. But it'll be interesting what Mr. Park is able to do with that. So you're right. It could be
Yeah,
a
looking
very
forward to it.
delectable pairing. Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up our episode. If you guys want to find us, you can do so on Twitter at allthatfilmpod. If you guys want to reach us, our email is allthatfilm1@gmail.com. If you want to find our website where we have all the picks, and Roma will be added to the list of films locked into the tourney, you can do so at allthatfilmpodcast.wordpress.com. And that's about it. If you guys want to find us on any other platforms, like our reviews that are on YouTube, check us out on YouTube, All That Film. We're also on Spotify and Apple Music. Unfortunately, I will mention this. Unfortunately, we've run into a problem with Spotify recently, not putting all our episodes on. Don't know what's up with that. But they're on YouTube as well. If you're listening on Spotify and like, I can't find episode 21, then they're on there. It's not the most ideal platform, but they're at least somewhere. That wraps up our episode. Thank you guys for coming on. And let us know what your favorite foreign film of the 2010s was. Obviously, as we mentioned at the start, there were some omissions we had, but it was still fun being able to recommend and hear recommends from you guys. So, yeah.
Sweet.
Bye.